With world-class expertise and local insight, Dexus creates value, not just for today, but long into tomorrow.
From Barangaroo Studios, the AusBiz COB is the key stuff you need to know about the day in business and finance.
Welcome to the COB. I'm Juliette Sarli. This Tuesday, on a day when we have seen some green on the screen, a positive session coming through from offshore markets overnight. Let's have a look at where we finished up. In fact, pretty flat there on the CBO 200, but as you can see throughout the course of the day, it was a pretty good one until the latter part when we started to see some wobbles coming through, and the ASX 200 finishing higher by just around 4 points on the close as we started to see the sellers, I guess, take an upper hand there, which is a little disappointing given that we had been seeing quite a lot of positive momentum. James Hardie shares at a 21-month low though. And we have been seeing a little bit of weakness elsewhere coming through in some of the other players, in particular when I look sectorally at the likes of consumer staples, materials, utilities, also under pressure. So that's a little bit of a bummer, isn't it? It was a good session, but we did put the if in tariffs today, which did send the market higher for most of the day, really just starting to work out once again the art of the deal when it comes to President Trump, now suggesting that perhaps the US will be a little bit more friendly, if you like, in response to some of these trading partner tariffs, taking a more measured approach, and that certainly lifted the overseas markets overnight. We're looking at the road to gold as well. We've talked so much about the record high gold price that we are seeing. And then, of course, Goldfields, the South African miner, making a play for Gold Road Resources, excuse me. They did, in fact, rebuff that, which has sent their shares tracking higher, suggesting that that takeover bid was not enough and not valuing the company where it should be. And an economist's Christmas. It is, of course, the federal budget tonight, 7:30 p.m. Mark Gardner from MPC has written a really good piece in our view, in our newsletter that'll come out today, and some of the stocks that we should be keeping an eye out for. We know that a lot of the policies often have been sort of leaked ahead of the budget, if you will, particularly when it's in an election year, but we'll be watching closely to see what is announced by Treasurer Chalmers and, of course, how the market will react tomorrow. We're going to have a special budget breakfast show from 9:30 a.m. Eastern to 10:30 a.m. hosted by me and Andrew Gagan. So we do hope that you will join us. We've got a lot of great economists, a lot of great industry leaders joining us to discuss the budget. All right, let's have a look at stocks. WiseTech Global had a good session. And of course, most of the tech players were higher on the back of what we saw with the tech players on Wall Street. Tesla up by 12%, its best day since the US election victory of President Trump back in November. And I also had a really great chat earlier with Greg Boland from Tiger Brokers about the tech stocks. So it's not really the Mag 7 anymore, it's the Batman stocks, which include the likes of Broadcom and all the other stocks that make up the words Batman when you spell it with 2 M's and 2 A's. Having a look at the miners as well, BHP was a little weaker today, as was Rio and Fortescue. South 32, though, up by 0.4%. And then looking at consumer discretionary players, Wesfarmers down 0.6%, but again coming through from Aristocrat, also JB Hi-Fi and Super Retail. Well, Ampol flagged $35 million worth of repairs from damages during Cyclone Alfred. About half these costs expected to be recovered through insurance. We touched on Gold Road Resources rejecting a $3.3 billion takeover from South African-based producer Goldfields. Elsewhere, Meridian Energy to begin the construction of its first New Zealand solar plant in August. And with its major contract with the Commonwealth Bank in jeopardy, the mortgage insurance firm Helia called an AGM on the 7th of May. Nickel Industries, meanwhile, down 2%, saying its March quarter earnings should be about 20% higher, though, compared to the prior period. And we also had an update coming through from HomeCo Daily Needs REIT. It's going to distribute a dividend of 2.125 cents a share for the first 3 months, but the HealthCo REIT won't be distributing any dividend. And electricity company Mayfield surged on a data contract win. Let's welcome to the COB Grady Wolf now from Bell Direct. Grady, what happened? It was all looking so positive and we finished pretty flat.
I know, it's been a tale of roller coaster right now.
All right, not sure we can hear Grady. Have we got her mic
Have we got me?
I can't hear you.
Oh no.
Grady.
Hello.
All right. Very, very faintly. We might need to boost her audio, Marius. But Grady, take it away. Why did we see such a flat session?
Yeah, the volatility roller coaster has extended from last week and the previous weeks into this week, with the Trump tariff talk and the news around that really driving market sentiment right now. We've had markets sitting at all-time highs and record highs around the world for quite some time now, but we have seen the pullback in Australia and the US as a result of fear in investors, and they're not quite knowing where valuations are sitting right now, where the second half is set to go. Where, as we had reporting season, the outlook for second half is slowing earnings and a slowing economic growth. So the tariffs definitely don't help that at all. But that's why we've seen the market sway from green to red recently, because investors just don't know where the market's going to go. And until we have some clarity around the Trump tariffs and what's going to happen on April 2nd, I think we're going to see quite a lot of volatility until then, at least.
Yeah, absolutely. And amidst the volatility, then we are hiding, aren't we? And one of those places we're hiding is in gold, continuing to ratchet higher. A number of reasons why, but talk us through what we're seeing in the gold rally, and I guess also Gold Road walking away from that bid from Goldfields.
Yeah, Gold Road is a pick of bells at the moment and has been for quite some time. We've had a buy on them for quite some time. They have obviously that stake into grey mining, which has one of what analysts are saying is one of the best prospect and best mine that anyone could have with de grey mining there. So this deal today, if they did go ahead with it, would definitely impact the Northern Star, de grey, and Gold Road as well. So there's a lot at play there. But the drivers of gold right now are the fundamental tailwinds we're seeing across the board. There's not just one driver. There's central banks buying up gold and bullion at the moment to diversify their reserves, to make sure that they don't have such a heavy reliance on the USD, as we're seeing a weakening US dollar in the future, and the prediction is for that to continue. We're also seeing investors are piling into gold for its safe haven nature. The tailor's oldest time is that gold is a store of value. We also have the People's Bank of China buying up more bullion than any other central bank in the world. Rising geopolitical tensions also driving gold at the moment. Rate cut environment also driving gold. So there's a lot of gold drivers out there, and the tailwinds aren't set to ease anytime soon. So the way forward and the way investors are getting exposure to gold is through buying bullion itself. Not too many are buying that, but we're seeing ETFs are really popular right now, like gold and NUG, and then you've got obviously the gold producers like Gold Road Resources. We've seen that massive deal with Spartan and Ramelius recently. We've got Bellevue Gold obviously down today, but we've got a lot across the board is what you're looking at. So looking at the ones that have the lowest all-in sustaining costs, highest production, is where you want to look for your opportunity in the gold mining space.
All right, and as you say, you really do like Gold Road Resources there. They're starting to see quite a lot of, I guess, M&A activity, which is not that surprising given that everybody sort of wants to get their hands on the physical gold as well. What else are you seeing though in the market? I mean, we touched on Ampol there coming through with an update, I should say, from Cyclone Alfred.
Yeah, we're expecting a lot to happen on that front, and I think Ampol is just the first of and many companies that will come out with updates around Alfred, albeit that it wasn't as bad as we all thought it was going to be, which is very lucky. But for Ampol, $35 million, I expect that on the contrary, though, the insurers will definitely have something positive to say, because insurance claims will be through the roof. As we know, Alfred made landfall and caused a bit of destruction there. So if they've caused destruction for the likes of Ampol, and Ampol has said they're going through insurance to get their costs covered. So that's like the likes of Insurance Australia Group, QBE, all those providers out there. So it's a positive for our insurers, and that's on the back of a very strong first half for our insurers, because they didn't have any claims, but we're seeing claims coming through now. So it'll work through its tail there, and they'll have to start paying out their insurances. So it's actually not a good thing for insurers, but we'll see the insurers come out with their updates soon.
Yeah, the other thing we're watching very closely is the federal budget being handed down tonight, Grady. I mean, we are going to be focusing on so many areas, on healthcare, on industrial. Just talk us through what we should be looking out for.
I think tomorrow it's a case of watch and wait until we see what happens tonight, and obviously tomorrow we'll see that flow through to our markets. So the spend in the healthcare space, we're seeing the healthcare sector has actually come down recently, and we've got a lot of catalysts coming up in the healthcare sector this year, so that might bode well in the timing wise with how much the budget spend is going towards that. Budget towards NDIS is obviously a very interesting area with so much going on about that right now. The REIT area and industrials area, and obviously with our commodity space being depleted recently. We want to see what spend is coming through there. So I want to see a spend all over, but I don't want to see too much spend in different places that add to our inflation journey.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, being an election year, no doubt some promises as well for cost of living.
Probably
really.
lots of promises.
Yeah. All right, Grady, thanks as always. And Grady's going to join us on the last call on Friday as well in studio. So we'll see you then. Grady Wolf there from Bell Direct. All right, let's have a look at what the stock of the day was as well, because of course we've been looking closely at a number of these mining players, and it was Catalyst Metals. Francesco de Stardis from Ord Minnett and Rudy Philippek van Dijk from FN Arena join Nadine.
They also announced that they've extended the mineralisation in a tenement they have in WA called Trident. I dare say that they're trying to offload some assets to utilise the funds to expand in some of their other operations. The Bells analyst looks at the plutonic operation, but there's also that Trident one.
I think there's two things to point out here. One is it's not widely covered, but if you believe that the gold price is heading for more rises, the obvious observation which is being made by analyst after analyst who looks at that sector is that those prospects are not yet priced in the sector, in the gold miners sector. So if you're a gold bug, or you simply believe that gold will go higher from here, then the assumption is that a lot of those gold miners should actually have a higher gold price.
All right, well, as we mentioned, the market has finished pretty flat, just slightly positive, but let's have a look at some of the leaders. And of course, Gold Road was there, up by more than 12%, along with Life 360 having a positive session as well. We know that the tech stocks really rallied in response to what we saw on Wall Street. WiseTech Global up 3.5%. Corporate Travel and Tabcorp also having good sessions. To the downside, though, today, James Hardie, this seems to be that investors think, look, it's actually just paid too much for AZEC, the $14 billion bid. We did see AZEC shares rally 17% in the US session after James Hardie agreed to that acquisition, which is about $9 billion US in cash and stock. Bellevue Gold came under pressure. Atlas Arteria was trading without rights to its dividend. Data 3 and ANZ also coming under pressure today. In the small end of town, we saw some good gains coming through from the likes of Berkeley Energia, up by 29%. Fleetwood was up by about 7%. And then having a quick look at the downside in the small end of town, these stocks on your screen did not do as well. Synlait Milk was off by about 25%. Okay, tonight we are looking out for the federal budget. Of course, 7:30 p.m. Eastern is when it will be handed down. Also in the US session, we get new home sales from February, and the US Conference Board Consumer Confidence for March, that could actually dip from a pretty good reading of 98.3 to 94, according to economists. Tomorrow, of course, we're going to have our budget special from 9:30 a.m. Eastern. We also get the February CPI data, engineering construction activity for the December quarter. But the market has finished pretty modestly higher, pretty flat there on the SIBO, up by about 6 points, I think, on the ASX 200. And this is mainly as the bank started to really go back into the red. So yeah, the ASX 200 closing up just 6 points higher, 7,942. Gold Road, we mentioned, was an outperformer, but the banks had a wobble. Some of the weakness in the materials and utility space too. IT, of course, was the best performing sector, up by 2%. All right, I'm going to say it for a third time, but we do have a special budget coverage from 9:30 a.m. Eastern tomorrow. We're going to be talking to some fabulous people. We've got the stocks covered with the likes of Marcus Padley from Marcus Today, James Garish from Shaw and Partners. Then we're going to be speaking to AMP economists, from industry leaders, from Julie Toth, PEX's Julie Toth, I should say, a number of great people joining us. So please do join us from 9:30 Eastern. We'll be on air 15 minutes earlier with a special post-budget show. We'll see you then.